Good Sunday afternoon. Welcome to 22 News in Focus. I'm Ashley AFONSO. Next week, we'll be welcoming the new year, and every year, millions of us make resolutions to improve many things in our lives, from quitting smoking to losing weight and making lifestyle changes. Today on 22 News in Focus, we'll be looking at different ways to create positive changes and get rid of old habits. Joining me first to discuss your personal finance health is Gordon Oliver, a certified financial counselor with Cambridge Credit Counseling. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So this is kind of a clean slate for everyone, maybe not a clean slate, but a fresh start for everyone to start over again in the new year. When somebody comes in and wants to create a budget, walk us through that steps, how you help them.
So the first budget you would create if you don't have one is a guesstimated version. So you don't necessarily know what you're spending on everything if you don't have a budget. So the first thing you would do is start jotting down things that you know are fixed expenses that are the same every month, like your mortgage or rent, your car payment, anything that's the same payment each and every month. Then you start to look in your categories like lifestyle categories, groceries, haircuts, hobbies, habits, and then you create that for the first month. And during that time, you would do what's called journalizing your expenses, which means you're collecting all of the data of all the income that comes in, what it went out to, so that you can record that at the end of the month and match it up to what you thought was the budget, and then you create a real budget based on the numbers that you have. December's a really bad month to do it because everybody's all over the place with spending and holiday spending. January is a fantastic month to do it as a fresh start to the new year.
Okay, once you have all this information, how do you kind of take a step back and assess your financial situation and where you need to start saving and that kind of thing?
So it's very important when you're setting goals to write down what you're expecting. And when you set those goals for yourself, then if the financial part is what you're looking at and you're trying to do, let's say, develop savings, looking at those categories like food, like dining out, things that you know that you could cut back on, that's where you see the true information of if you have a savings goal for the year. Some experts say 10% of your gross paycheck should be saved for savings. And if you're not at the point where you can do that, you've got to start somewhere. So you look at those categories where you feel you could cut back once you realize how much you're truly spending.
Now, what about someone who's maybe an entrepreneur or is waiting tables and doesn't have that specific salary each month? How do you kind of assess but still stick to your budget?
It's a great question. So with fluctuating budgets, fluctuating incomes, you have to start with an expectation. You know, what's the average over the last 3 months of what you brought in, and use that as the income level. If you make less than it, this is why savings is so important. If you make more than what your budget has slated out, you would try to put the most of that money away so that if you came to a month where it was less than what you were supposed to make, you got ill, you couldn't go into your shifts, you can then pull from that. Where people get in trouble is the spending blanket is a credit card. If you don't have the money in savings. And that's why when we talk about savings, you have to start somewhere. Even if it's $5 a week, if that's where you start, it starts. And once you start seeing that money build up and you use it actually for an emergency or something where you'd use a credit card, you're already a step in the right direction.
All right, now let's talk about a different kind of savings, a 401k. A lot of employers offer that. What do you recommend to people? Should they definitely do it?
401ks are a phenomenal vehicle for savings for one big reason. You can't pull the money out without being massively penalized until the timing is right. When we talk to retirees, it's never too early to start saving. 18-year-olds are eventually going to be senior citizens. So studies show that 70% of what you make when you are working is what you're going to need in retirement. There are things that you can't change when you're in retirement. If you still have a mortgage payment, that's not going to change. You're still going to need to get groceries. Most of the expenses don't change. Some will actually add expenses when you're in retirement, like traveling to see your children. So you have to, 401ks are a forced savings for that time when you're going to need it most. And you're getting usually a match from the company that you work for, so it typically is a great place to start with an investment.
Okay, now let's talk about credit card debt. You mentioned it a little bit. How important is it to pay that down first? And how do you assess whether you should, excuse me, do that or put it in savings?
It's great. Another fantastic question. It's not a very good idea. It's kind of like the oxygen mask in the airplane. If you don't put the mask on and save yourself first, you're not saving anybody else. You can't just aggressively go to pay down credit card debt, leaving yourselves with no savings, because when these unexpected expenses come up, a classic one is maintenance for your vehicle. Oil changes, tires, just to keep your vehicle in good shape actually saves you money over time when you keep it in good shape. Those are the areas where if you don't have savings to pay for those things and you haven't planned them in your budget, usually a credit card is what's used. So it has to be a balanced approach. Whatever you think your best amount to save would be, you start saving that, and then the extra money you can start throwing at the credit cards, because the interest rate obviously is what eats at your money. And you want to get rid of it, but you don't want to do it where you're not developing something else to prevent you from getting in the same situation again.
When should someone consider getting a personal loan to pay down debt?
It's all about the terms, it's all about the game plan. So personal loans, as long as the interest rate is competitive, the key is not using the credit cards again. So if you have the discipline that you're going to get the personal loan and it's at a competitive interest rate when you're paying 18, 19, 22%, if you're getting a personal loan at 8% and you know that you're disciplined enough not to use the credit cards, fine. But like our counseling program, we get rates like personal loans do, but people can't use their cards anymore to kind of, they got counseling, they got forced to get out of debt by getting lower interest rates. When you get that loan and you have this open amount of credit to still use, you've got to make sure that you're not tapping into it and actually using that loan to get out of debt.
Okay, how about student loans? That's a different beast there. What are some options now for people, and I was going to say students, but there's people in their 30s, 40s still trying to pay this down.
And parents. Parents are now funding their loans with interest rate loans that are very, very difficult and very high to pay off. If you are planning on going to school and you're not in school yet, one of the big things you have to look into is what salary is the expectation from the education that you're going to get, and how is that going to help you pay off the amount of debt that you're going to incur, because the costs of tuition in college have gone up in the last 10 years so exponentially that the salaries for the general jobs haven't changed much at all. So essentially you're borrowing more to get the same thing you got 10 years ago, which that eventually has to change with $1.5 trillion in debt and student loans as a country, and eventually that cannot sustain itself.
That's a good way to look at it. That's not something they're telling you in high school, to look at how much you're going to make versus where you're going to go.
No, we don't want to shatter dreams, but when we see the other side of it, when people are struggling financially and having problems paying it and incurring more interest because they can't pay it, so they put them in forbearance or deferment on hold while the interest accrues, that is a formula for disaster.
Okay, and what's the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program?
Public Service Loan Forgiveness, there's three very simple things that you need to have. They've made it convoluted, but it's simple. You have to have direct loans. You have to make 120 eligible payments, which means you have to be on either an income-driven repayment plan or the standard 10-year plan, and you have to work for an eligible employer. The two places where people have gone wrong with this is you have to be on the income-driven plan, and you have to get, there's a form called an employment certification form that you bring to your employer and you send in each year to get back from FedLoan, who's the company that handles it, how many payments you have towards that 120 that you need to have your whole loan forgiven tax-free.
Okay. Now what if somebody's New Year's resolution is to improve their credit score? How do you go about that?
Credit score, very simply, there's no quick fix. But there are things that you can do that are anchoring your credit score down. The biggest percentage of credit score is payment history. So if there's bills that you have either behind or in collections or just sitting not being paid, the first thing you need to do is get them to start getting a payment and get them so that you're showing that you're managing the payment. The worst thing for the credit score and the worst thing for a lender to see is that you have bills on your credit that are just stagnant, sitting there, not getting any activity. Even bankruptcy can be better than having a bill just sitting there because you're not taking any action on it. At least with bankruptcy, you saw an attorney, realize that that was your best alternative to get a fresh start, and then you start to move away from it because you very slowly get lines of credit when you file for bankruptcy. When you're just letting that activity happen, it just continues to bring your score down because you're not doing anything about that debt.
And for someone who has no credit and is trying to start, what's the smartest way to go about it?
Trying to get some kind of activity on some form of line of credit. So for myself, with my sons, I could open up a credit card as an authorized user for my sons, and I can manage it because I'm the primary holder, but they can start to make charges and payments on it so they can start to build some kind of history that they're managing it properly.
All right. Thank you so much. And want to set some fitness goals but don't know where to start? We'll have some ideas for you there after the break. You're watching 22 News in Focus. Welcome back to 22 News in Focus. Today we're talking about New Year's resolutions. One of the top resolutions every year is losing weight and getting fit. Millions of Americans struggle with obesity and decide that on New Year's Day they're going to start with a new diet and fitness routine. There's a lot of information out there, and some of it's conflicting about how best to go about making those lifestyle changes effectively and safely. Joining me now to discuss strategies to create a healthier lifestyle is Lauren Vitrak, a certified personal trainer and fitness nutrition specialist. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
So people who maybe have never exercised or have a little bit of exercise history want to go at it in the new year. What is the best way to go about this?
I think the best thing to do is to set reachable and attainable goals for yourself in the new year. So, you know, if you have a long way to go on your fitness journey, let's break it up into smaller parts. You know, let's start losing 5 pounds at a time, 10 pounds at a time. Let's make it to the gym 3-4 days a week. So let's not just jump in and say, you know, we're going to lose 100 pounds in New Year. We're going to go to the gym every day. When you set goals like that, it almost becomes too much and you get frustrated very easily.
How much do you recommend that someone consults with their doctor before jumping into a new program?
So if you've never exercised before at all, you definitely should at least check with your doctor, make sure that, you know, you're physically ready to exercise, that there's no injuries from, you know, previous injuries that are holding you back. And just to check, make sure that, you know, you're ready to go to the gym, ready to lift some weights, and that you're not going to get injured to do so. If you have a little bit of exercise experience, it's important to listen to your body. So if something's hurting, I don't want people to go to the gym and, you know, really aggravate an older injury. At that point, check with your doctor, make sure everything's healed up first, and then come see us at the gym.
There's so many different forms of exercise. They're adding more and more classes, it seems like, every day. How do you find the best route for you?
So find something that's enjoyable for yourself. If you're into spin classes, you're into indoor cycling classes, something like that, get into a class that you enjoy. Find an instructor that you like and stick with it. If you're more into, you know, things like yoga or aerobics or Zumba classes or something of that nature, if you like that type of exercise, find an instructor that you like, find a group that you like, and stick with it for the year. But make sure that you make a commitment to it and find something that you enjoy doing and that you can continue to do throughout the year.
It seems like there's a lot of gyms out there that count on people starting in January and then they stop coming.
Exactly.
How do you get yourself to stay motivated?
So gyms definitely do count on people to sign up at the beginning of the year, and then, you know, they probably stick around 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and then you never see them again. So gyms definitely depend on that. Just, you know, easily to stay motivated, start light. You don't have to go to the gym every single day of the week to just see some benefits to your exercise routine. Start by going, you know, 2 days a week, 3 days a week, and work yourself up to that extra day as you feel more comfortable.
There's a lot of information out on the internet, and even people that sell programs, different things. Why is it important to go to someone personal?
So you don't want to take a plan just right off the internet. That plan's been made for somebody, but not necessarily made for you. And while a plan may work for me, it may not be the same plan that works for you. And you may not find that you really enjoy a plan that's for me. So you want to find a plan that is sustainable for you, attainable for you, and that you enjoy doing, so that, you know, you don't become frustrated and then, you know, just quit after a few weeks.
And what about an accountability buddy, partner?
Sure, absolutely. You know, having a workout partner or someone to work out with, someone to keep you accountable, make sure you continue to go. Sometimes it's just as simple as that, you know, phone call saying, hey, you know, let's go work out, let's go to the gym. Something like that can really pay off big time.
There's also a lot of information out there like, oh, you need to run this much, or you need to lift this much amount of weight, and that's not true, right?
There's no specific amount that's good. I'd rather you're just running or you're just lifting weights. You know, start at a level that's attainable for you, that's comfortable for you. Don't push yourself into injury. That's the easiest way to derail your goals. You know, if you're a runner to begin with, let's start just increasing the amount we're running. If you're already a weightlifter, let's just start increasing the amount we're lifting, either with, you know, the amount in weights or the frequency during the week, and then just build up slowly and comfortably. There's no set amount that's good. I just like to see people exercising. Even a little bit's better than none at all.
Okay, what advice do you have for people who want to improve fitness and push themselves a little bit further?
Okay, so, you know, just very simple things, small steps, easy steps. You know, start by going to the gym just one day, find a class that you like and just enjoy it. Enjoy working out. Be mindful of what you're doing at the gym and learn new things while you're there. If you've never lifted weights before, learn to lift weights. If you've never done, martial arts or boxing or something like that, try a class. If you've never tried a spin or a cycling class, try something like that. If you're very familiar with everything going on in the gym, try something outside the gym, whether it's sports, if you want to join a basketball league or even a yoga group. Great ideas.
And you don't necessarily even need to go to the gym to get in shape, right?
Absolutely not. There's great things to do outside of the gym. Even just something as simple as going for a power walk can pay off big time in the new year.
Okay, we're going to talk about this a little bit later in this program,
Sure.
but how important is nutrition in reaching your fitness goals?
Very much so, especially for people who have a little bit to go on the weight loss journey. So for people who are overweight, and studies show that's more and more people nowadays, are overweight, and even after the holiday season, generally people are adding 5, 10, even 15 pounds on throughout the Thanksgiving and then the Christmas season. So nutrition becomes a big part of your fitness regimen in the new year, and I want people to just focus on, cleaning up the diet a little bit, eating less processed, less packaged food, eating out a little bit less, cooking your food more at home, and then prepping your food and planning ahead.
Okay, and what do you say to people who have fallen off the wagon, maybe starting in Thanksgiving, that time period?
So for us in Western Mass, I find, people really start to fall off the wagon kind of in the Big E season. You go to the Big E, and then Halloween comes, you jump into the candy, and then Thanksgiving comes, and then Christmas. So we have like a long season here at home where people kind of, they fall off the wagon. If you've fallen off the wagon, no problem. It's a great time to get started again. Just cleaning up your diet a little bit, getting to the gym a little bit more, getting outside a little bit more, moving a little bit more, it's going to pay off big time.
Sometimes the hardest part for people is the first step, getting there. They're a little intimidated. What do you say to those people?
Absolutely. So that's a great time to think about having a workout partner, someone to help you with accountability. And if you need someone just to help you with that, find, a friend that's into fitness or someone and just kind of lean on them and say, hey, I need a hand. Could you maybe take me to the gym with you, or could you maybe show me a few of the things that have worked for you, and so that I can incorporate them into my own routine.
How are you able to tailor programs and get people success?
So person by person, it's very different. But generally what I'm having people do is I'm just examining their lifestyle. What are they doing? What are they eating? What's their work day like? If they're sitting around a lot at work, I want to get them moving a little bit more. If they're very busy during the day and they're not able to plan and prep their meals, I want to teach them a little bit about preparation of the food, planning the meals ahead of time, and just giving them the best chance for success.
Okay. What's really popular right now? I mean, I guess we just talked about how there's different kinds of exercise, but what are people really into right now? It seems like there's so many fitness trends.
Sure, it's up and down. Well, people definitely like, group exercise classes. That's a big thing. Boot camps, yoga classes, Zumba classes, these type of classes are huge. In nutrition, we see, a lot of trends, people doing, paleo diets, all natural, keto diets where they're just cutting out carbohydrates, these kind of extreme diets, maybe not sustainable in the long term, although people do have success with them in the short term. I find that people don't often sustain them in a long-term plan.
And some people set goals maybe to run races as a way to get in shape.
That's a great way, but if you've never run a race before, it's tough to start with a marathon. So there's local 5Ks everywhere, oftentimes for great charities, local 10Ks, including naturally the big one for us is the St. Patrick's Day race. Start there, start with a 5K, start with a 10K, work your way up to a half marathon or even a full marathon. Don't jump into 2019 if you've never run and say, I'm going to take on a marathon this year. Build your way up to it.
It's a good way to disappoint yourself, right?
Exactly.
Thank you so much for this information.
Thank you.
And if you're tired of yo-yo dieting, we'll learn about creating healthy food choices that will last you a lifetime. You're watching 22 News in Focus. You're watching 22 News in Focus. Today we're talking about making and keeping your New Year's resolutions. Losing weight is at the top of many resolutions. The problem is that most people have unrealistic expectations about changing their eating habits. Low fat or no fat, carbs or no carbs, cleanses and fasts. There are so many different options, but which one's the right one for you and helping you maintain your long-term health? Joining us to discuss how to create a nutritious eating plan to help with losing weight and maintaining weight loss is Marissa Chipperino, a registered dietitian at Holyoke Medical Center. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so someone who really wants to clean up their eating act, what is the first step they need to take in the new year?
I think it's important to take baby steps, and I always think of the 3 B's: breakfast, beverages, and bed. Don't skip breakfast, change all your beverages to sugar-free, and go to get some good sleep.
Okay, that's an easy one to remember. Now, how much of this is psychological?
A fair amount. I would say nearly 100%, because a lot of us eat for emotion and not for that true physiological hunger. So until we're able to identify what those emotions are, like stress or boredom, it's really hard to tackle them until we are actually aware that sometimes we eat because we're not actually hungry.
Yeah, how do you identify these different things and identify that you're not hungry and you're just eating to eat?
Well, if you're making this your New Year's resolution, you do want to take a step back and be mindful, which sounds so cliche, but if you know that you've eaten a dinner and now it's almost time for bed, you may not actually need that snack. So think about it, ask yourself, am I really hungry, or can I just go to sleep and wake up the next day and start fresh?
Yeah, a lot of it could be routine too. I always have a sweet after dinner, so I need to keep that going, but...
Or watching TV. Yep.
Okay. How much should someone consult with their doctor before starting a new diet?
So the doctor can definitely get you off to a good start, but ask them for a referral so that you can meet with a registered dietitian who can individualize a meal plan for you and kind of take into consideration your daily schedule, your routine. Maybe you have started incorporating exercise, and go from there. And if you have diabetes, you also have the advantage of getting to meet with a certified diabetes educator to help with some of that as well.
Now, obviously, it's different for every person you meet with, but can you walk us through a little bit of how you go about getting someone on their very own individualized diet plan?
So definitely baby steps. I don't expect anyone Monday morning to be able to revamp breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So first we have a discussion about what some of their daily routine habits are like. How often do you eat out at restaurants? Do you skip meals? Is there a lot at work that you're exposed to that may not be part of a healthy diet? And then we kind of tackle each one of those things one at a time. And it's important to set small goals, just like exercise, and go from there.
Okay. Are there any foods that you, off the bat, tell clients to avoid completely?
Beverages with calories. So if you could only pick one thing to change starting today, take a look at your drinks. How much sugar are you putting in your coffee? Do you drink a lot of juice? Where do the energy drinks come into play? And that includes things like milk and soda and sweet tea.
Okay. There's so much information out there. We just heard a little bit from Vincent about the paleo diet and all those different diets. What do you say to people about those?
You really want to ask yourself if it's something you can sustain. If it gets you off to a good start, that's fine, but you want to have a long-term plan. And there's a lot of programs out there that until you have to stick with them, and then once you're done and you leave them, you have no guidance afterwards. So that's where you really want to take advantage of a program that's going to follow you from start to finish. And at Holyoke Medical Center, we do have the weight management program that offers surgical and non-surgical options all the way through the maintenance phase. So if you find a plan online that doesn't support you from beginning to end, that's going to be a good clue that it may not be the right fit for you.
Okay, yeah, there's some plans out there. I saw one of them said no coffee. That's when I was like, nope, that is not the plan for me.
Yeah, I mean, you have to think about long-term results and what you've already tried.
Yeah. And what's really important to you.
Right.
Like possibly coffee. Now, how much, or do you recommend people keep a food journal when they're going through this process?
I think it's a great tool. Some may consider it a homework assignment, and we don't have to do it forever. But what's really important to include in a food journal are your emotions during times when you may be eating more often than usual, and when you exercise, because I want you to exercise whenever you're willing to do it, and then we can kind of work meal planning around that. But overall, food journaling allows us to figure out patterns and identify gaps that we can slowly tweak and adjust over time.
There's a lot of different information out there about how much dairy people need or how much meat people need to eat. How do you go about figuring out what's right for you there?
Everybody's different, and there is a lot of nutrition science that's constantly evolving the same way medicine does, but we want to look at what we have known to work well, and that's a high fiber diet. And some people are going to do better with lots of fruits and vegetables and meat, and others are going to need a little bit more in the way of whole grains and low-fat dairy. So it just depends on what works for someone. And when you look at a food journal, and they can tell you which times of day they tend to get hungry, and we look at what they ate before, we can figure it out that way too.
So there's a lot of trial and error here.
Oh yes, yes. It's not going to be, a perfect plan right off the bat.
So there's a lot of people that are so busy and they're constantly eating out. Can you still lose weight and maintain a healthy diet while eating out?
Absolutely. It's a little trickier, and as we heard earlier, when you eat off plan, it can often be upsetting to your stomach. But portion size is very important when we eat at a restaurant, and now a lot of our mainstream companies allow you to pretty much choose your entire meal. So you choose the protein, you choose your two sides. So my suggestion is get a lean protein, not a lot of fat, no skin, and choose two non-starchy vegetable-based sides. And then if you decide to have dessert, you can share it with someone and not have all the guilt. But what you do have to look out for are the drinks that you're choosing and the sauces, gravies, and salad dressings.
Yes, the salad dressings will get you.
Those calories sneak up.
Now, there's also a lot of information about how many meals you should be eating a day, or whether to kind of graze throughout the day. Is there a one-size-fits-all for everyone, or is that different as well?
It's very different for everybody. Some people can get by with 3 meals a day, and others need to eat more frequently. And you do want to look at whatever health conditions you have too, because that's certainly going to play a role, especially if you take medication that's based around a meal to control blood sugar or how well the medication works.
There's also, it seems like there's been a trend with fasting, maybe the past year. Does that work for some people?
It does work for some people, but I recommend doing it under supervision, because again, you want to look at what happens when you no longer sustain a fasting-based diet.
Okay, and we also hear a lot about water. You need your 8 cups of water a day. Is that true?
I would say 8 cups, 64 ounces is a good average estimate, and that's because it helps to keep us full longer, and it controls our hunger throughout the day. But it also allows us to remain focused and get better sleep. So it's not just about nutrition when we look at hydration.
Okay, and if someone is exercising with their plan here, how do you figure out when they should be eating? Because that can play a big role into how your workout turns out.
I want you to exercise when you're willing to exercise, and then we can work your meals around that. But it's important to look at when the last time you ate compared to when you're going to exercise is. If you ate an hour ago, you don't really need to have anything beforehand, but should have something small like an apple with some nuts on the side ready to go when you're finished.
Okay, are there any other quick snacks like that you recommend for people?
Low-fat Greek yogurt is a great option. Just be careful if there's added sugar. Hummus with carrots is another good choice too. And some people, they love their low-fat cottage cheese. Yeah. I'm not one of them.
Nope, me neither. I've tried that, but there definitely are. Thank you for all of this information.
No problem.
We'll continue this conversation after a short break. Stay with us. You're watching 22 News in Focus. Welcome back to 22 News in Focus. Today we're talking about New Year's resolutions. We've discussed ways to improve your finances and your health, but what about your personal and professional life? Maybe you've decided to look for a new job or new hobbies, or get out of a bad relationship, or go back to school and get a degree. For some people, getting organized and making decisions can be confusing. Here to provide some help in finding the right path for you is GINA DISTEFANO, President and CEO of DISTEFANO Group, a personal and business coaching strategic planning company. Happy New Year, and thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you. So excited to be back.
Yeah. So people want to go about making a change in their personal or professional life in the new year. This is a good time for everyone to start. What is the first step they need to do to get on this path?
I think the first most actionable step is doing just that. It's finally switching over from activity to action. And every year we decide this is going to be it. This is going to be the day. It's 2019. But they're doing the same behaviors over and over. And I think to switch from activity to action is, employing a team around you that's actually going to hold you accountable moving forward.
How did you get into personal development?
I have been in the people business for over 15 years. I started my career in executive recruiting in DC, and then I joined Taco Bell Corporation, where I did HR and people development and talent acquisition. And then a few years ago, I started my own company, and I'm excited that we just recently expanded to the DiStefano Group, where we have an entire team of people working in 4 different areas to really help people in all aspects of their life, both personally and professionally.
Yeah, so talk a little bit about the different services that you're able to offer people personally and also professionally.
Well, the two go hand in hand. So often at times people will think there's just areas of opportunity in my personal life that doesn't really factor into my business life, and that's so not true. So the DiStefano Group specializes in personal leadership coaching, strategic planning, talent acquisition, and branding and marketing. So basically all areas necessary to perform very highly personally and professionally we offer.
When someone comes to you for your services, what are the first steps you take to identify where they need to go from there?
Well, the first and most important step is awareness. Oftentimes people come and they fall into one of 3 buckets. Either they're pretty keenly aware of what they want changed, they don't know how to do it, or they might think they have an idea of what's going on, not sure, or they have absolutely no idea of what's going on. So that is the most important piece before we can get started doing anything, is to assess what's really going on so we can know where to get started.
What are some tools people are able to use to make positive change?
I think the biggest tool that they need to get solid in is the creating of the vision of what they want their life to look like. And oftentimes we really get lost along the way in life because we get so wrapped up in just the day-to-day, getting through it, getting bare minimum results at work, or getting through our home life or personal lives, or all those things, that we forget what is it exactly that we want. So a big tool first is to figure out and create that vision.
How important is it changing relationships, both personal and business, in making positive change?
That is by far the most important area of change, and we actually have developed a system. It's a 4-part system, and that's one of the parts to it, because if you think about it, if you want change and you keep doing the same things over and over and associating with the same people in the same situations, it's not going to change. And that's very challenging for people, especially if you've been in personal or professional relationships for years. It's hard to either remove some people from your life or add people in, or limit the time that they have. That's a whole skill set within itself, and it's by far the most important piece.
And what are the 3 other pieces?
Oh, the 3 other pieces to the system. Oh my. Well, there's the awareness piece. There's the team that you surround yourself with. There's the, when you do start to actually talk about it, that you have your right team and people in place, and then you can execute. So the 4-part system is very strategic, and there's a lot of work involved in it, but as long as it's done in its right form, it works very effectively.
And we hear the term self-care a lot lately. How important is this in professional growth?
Self-care is huge, and I love this topic because oftentimes it's misunderstood. Some people will think self-care means you do yoga, or you eat right, or you exercise, you get a massage, and yes, that's a part of self-care, but to me what self-care means is really establishing your self-worth and what you believe you deserve, and go after that. And that's building self-confidence, that's self-care, that's self-love, and that is much more challenging to do, to set boundaries for yourself and others, than say taking a bath or getting a massage.
And on that same topic, something a lot of people, maybe women in particular, struggle with is the work-life balance. How are you able to help people achieve that, especially entrepreneurs or people in the business front?
that is extremely challenging. To maintain work-life balance, you have to prioritize, and you have to really take a look at what is imperative, what needs to get done, what doesn't, and who's influencing those decisions. Is it you? Is it social media? Is it the people you think you need to keep up with? So first and foremost, it's that, and it's asking for help when you do decide this is important to me, getting the right tribe of people around you, surrounding yourself with people that care and can help you to get whatever needs to get done.
A lot of people find themselves maybe saying yes to too much, and that's a big part of that as well. Is there anything you recommend to help people say no when they really should be saying no to different things and taking on different tasks?
I say no. And I coach a lot on being politely aggressive, because people get so nervous to say no, and as a result, when you don't do that and you take too much on, you become resentful. So you're not acting as great of a partner or spouse or parent or friend by constantly saying yes. And I always say, just rip the Band-Aid. Rip the Band-Aid and stop talking. You do not need to over-explain the no. If I say, hey, Ashley, want to grab a drink after? All you have to say is, you know what, no, I can't tonight. And then stop talking. We don't need to go into these great details. That's going to cause you anxiety. A simple no. Be politely aggressive with it and move on. And once you start to do that and make that a part of your personality and are able to do that, it's the best. You feel a lot lighter, you feel in more control, and you're able to enjoy doing the things you actually want to be doing.
And on that note, how do you help people prioritize both business and personal, where their priorities need to be?
You have to, I find when I coach clients and my group does, it's digging and probing and asking the questions, because I don't think people even know why they're doing things. I think they just do them for so long and it's part of their routine that the thought of not doing it that way will cause anxiety until you really dig deep on it and they realize, oh, it isn't that important, or it doesn't have to be done in this way every single time.
What other advice are you able to offer to people, both business and personally and professionally, in the new year here?
Get serious about the change you want and hire a team to help you do it. In this past year, I decided that I wanted to expand my company, and it's very scary and challenging to do that, but I had to do things very differently. I had to hire myself a lead coach and a branding coach and another business coach, and if you really want to execute serious change, you're going to have to do things differently. You're going to absolutely have to invest in yourself, and I think that's the biggest advice I can give anyone. If you want the change, invest in yourself. Surround yourself with a very selective group of people that are going to support you in doing that and serve you and help you.
And how does someone go about finding the right personal or professional business coach for them?
I think there's a lot of information on the internet, and Googling people and asking for referrals. Coaching has really taken off over the last few years, and a lot of people have employed coaches. So you can definitely ask around. People in positions of power that are executives often have coaches, so if you're looking at it from a professional point of view or even personally. I work with both personal and business individuals, but there are a lot of people out there that you can ask, and they can give you some great names.
All right, thank you so much for being here and for that information.
Thank you.
And we will continue this conversation after a short break. Stay with us. You're watching 22 News in Focus. You're watching 22 News in Focus. Today we've been talking about strategies for making and keeping your New Year's resolutions. We've discussed making changes in a person's personal life, but a person's job and professional life also has an impact on the decisions they make in their daily lives. So can you tell us a little bit about the strategies to overcome obstacles in business particularly?
Very similar to personal, it's the awareness piece. Leaders and owners often get so overwhelmed when running companies because oftentimes they're not well versed in people development and seeing these things, and they're just trying again to get through the day to the day. So it's getting very clear on what's not working well in an environment in order to fix that.
And how do you help people empower themselves and be good leaders in their business setting?
I think a key to empowering leaders is to get them very comfortable with vulnerability and asking their people for help, and that also empowers their people. You know, they always say, and it's very true, hire people that are smarter than you. Surround yourself with really talented people and look to them for guidance. They're gonna work really, really hard for you, and they feel important, understood, and excited to be around you, and they're gonna get you breakthrough results.
Yeah, and what are some other ways to be an effective manager particularly?
I would say to always remember to meet people where they are. Oftentimes leaders can get frustrated because their people or the teams just aren't getting it, and they think, well, I've given you everything and I've trained you and I don't understand, because they're not. You have to meet them where they are and then see which direction they can go in. And sometimes that's when you do need to call in help and trainers and coaches to help develop the people. But it's always remembering we are not on the same page at all at the same time, and it's just meeting people where they are.
Okay, and in business, there's a lot of different personalities, a lot of different characters, as we call them. How do you help people work together? I mean, you're never going to agree on certain things, but how are you able to work together in business?
It's also about really getting to know your people. And I understand now we are a very fast-paced culture and everything is go, 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 go. But if you don't stop and take the time to really get to know your people and who they are, it makes it very difficult to build connections and a solid culture within a work environment. So doing things like having workshops or roundtables or just weekly one-on-ones. You know, everyone says, I don't have the time, I don't have the time. Well, you don't not have the time, because when you don't do that and your people feel that you're not invested in them, they're not going to perform for you. They're going to give you bare minimum. And then you're going to wonder why. It's because you don't know them, you don't know their personalities, and you don't know how to set them up for success.
Yeah, you mentioned the word culture. How important is that? And that's kind of a term I've been hearing lately, what millennials are looking for, and younger people. They want this good culture. Mm-hmm. How do you create that in the business world?
Well, we at the DiStefano Group have created an entire system around that to make people feel special, understood, and excited to be there. And it's always leader-led. And it's a feeling, a culture. People don't really even understand what that means. It's not a mission statement on the wall. It's a feeling that you get when you walk into that environment, which is leader-led. And it takes a lot of the little things to get people to believe that you care about them, and that they are making a difference there and they're adding value. And that takes a system to work into it. It's not just about a thank you or good job or a raise or pizza Fridays. There's so much more that goes into creating a great culture.
And we have also heard, especially this past year, the words toxic environment or harassment thrown around in the business setting. What are some ways to keep that at bay and keep a positive culture?
One of the most important things to avoid a toxic work environment is accountability. And if you're not a solid leader, and that's why it's so important, always leader-led, that you're solid in who you are and confident, to hold your people accountable. Toxicity is like cancer. It will spread and they will keep getting away with it. And that's challenging, because when you're understaffed or you feel like you need the bodies in there, you're really giving control to your people, and it's not fair. But once you show that you are not going to tolerate those types of behaviors, there's going to be an entire change and everything will shift.
What about if you're in charge of recruiting? How do you find the right fit for the position that's open?
This is, there's a lot that goes into recruiting. I think the most important thing too is having the right culture and environment and a very specific role defined for that person to come into. You have to set people up for success, and oftentimes when you're not a seasoned recruiter, interviewer, or hiring manager, you're just looking for someone that fits the technical pieces of it. And there's so much more that goes into talent acquisition and recruiting. There are so many people that are so trainable and have incredible transferable skills, but to the untrained eye, they don't know what to look for. So to find great talent, you need to have role clarity, you need to have a solid culture, and you need to know what to look for outside of the box to maybe have somebody that would be a great fit for your organization.
And how important is organization and making it clear what people's roles are?
Very, very, very. This is the thing too, where people, they think that if they have a job description, that's enough clarity. And it's about when you onboard the person, that there are the right steps and policies and procedures in place to set someone up for success. I hear it over and over and over again when employees start at companies. The first couple of weeks is somewhat like a honeymoon stage, and they're all nice and they bring them a cake and now we're all here to help you, but then everyone has to go into their roles and do their job, and they're kind of left on their own. And what happens with these types of employees is, one, you're going to get people there that are just, you know, paycheck collectors, don't know what's going on. You're going to get mediocre employees that you think are doing a great job because they're just producing something, or you're going to be left with, you know, your true talent that ends up leaving because they know they joined an organization where they're not going to get trained and they're going to leave. So if you don't set your people up for success, you're going to be left with paycheck collectors and mediocre. So very important to know exactly how to create that environment where people are coming on and knowing what they're doing.
Yeah, how do you advise companies to go about changing that whole onboarding process?
I think they need to take a look at their retention. They need to take a look at the performance and the results they're getting, the feedback, if they're actually doing performance appraisals and talking to their people, and just the overall feel. That all plays into the culture also. And it's challenging because I understand from a leader's perspective where there's just so many things going on. But if you don't invest in your people correctly and get them set up for success, you're never going to reach that point where you want to be in your business.
Okay, and on the business front, are you able to offer kind of, for people who feel lost maybe in their career, or are you able to help steer people in the right direction there?
Absolutely, and that's another great thing too. It's because there's opportunities across the board where people might be a little bit lost. If they come and talk to the DISTEFANO group, we can either put you on a path. If we can't help you, we can definitely refer you out to services or to people that can.
Do you find that New Year's is a time where people, both personally and in their business lives, want to get organized here and make some changes?
Yes, January is a very, very busy month, which is why it's very exciting that the DISTEFANO group is taking off in January, because we have a lot more to offer now. We have an entire team that is really committed and have years of experience to really, really help people and execute change for them.
How did you personally go about deciding it was time to make these changes?
Because I walk the talk, and I have been successful in my company for about 7 years, and it was just time. And like I said, I was very fortunate to be surrounded by very, very smart people that I knew could help me take this to the next level, and they've been instrumental in doing this. And so I'm very, very excited for what 2019 is going to bring.
Do you find a lot of people might be like yourself and have this vision, but unlike you, aren't able to execute it? I mean, I guess that's why you have your job and your business.
That's why I do, because everybody does. There is nothing special about me, but there is something special about everyone. We all have it in us. We all have it in us. It's just finding the right people. You can't do it alone. You have to create the vision and have the drive, but you also have to create this community around you, people that are going to support it, and anyone can do it. And that's why I believe in people, and I love to help them live their best lives, because life is too short to be in a miserable job or a miserable relationship or just living comfortably miserably.
That's a good way to put it, comfortably miserably. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we'll have the last word for you after this break. Stay with us. You're watching 22 News in Focus. You're watching 22 News in Focus. Today we've been talking about making New Year's resolutions and the strategies to help you stay on track, whether in your personal or professional life. That's our program for today. We want to thank our guests for joining us, and thank you at home for watching. If you missed any of it, you can watch it in full on our website, wwlp.com. From all of us here at 22 News, we wish you a wonderful Sunday and a Happy New Year.